The regular season of the high school football year is over. Now we turn to tournament time. The Red Devils take on the Newcastle Trojans coming up on Friday night. We'll have the game for you right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports, getting it away at around 6:30. Kickoff is at 7. Before we talk about the Trojans, and by the way, they love to throw the football, we're going to go back to last week. The Red Devils lost their final game of the regular season, but the difference was there was a lot more fight in this football team last week than there was 2 weeks ago against the Anderson Indians. Abe Tawfeek, the head coach, joins us once again this week. Now, you and I talked afterwards, and I think that was kind of the theme of that game. You can look at that scoreboard and say, well, how could it possibly have been better than the week before?
Yeah.
But I did see some fight in your football team right to the very end that I didn't see the week before.
Yeah, we came out, fired up, played a really good first half of football. You take away a couple of plays and, we may go into halftime tied up, or it may be 14-7, one or the other, one of the two, but definitely not a 28-7 halftime score. So, they kind of broke a couple big plays there towards the end of the half. And we had an offensive drive that was going that, we just shot ourselves in the foot again with some offensive penalties. I believe it was a block in the back and a hit after the whistle. So some silly penalties, stuff that we've been dealing with all year. I feel like we cleaned up the penalties a little bit, as opposed to the Anderson game, to Harrison. There was just flags everywhere against Anderson, and then Harrison, we did an all right job, minus a few costly penalties in that one drive. We did a fairly good job staying disciplined. We fought well, came out, first drive, stopped them, made them punt the ball, got the ball back, go down and score. We're up 7-0, and it's pretty, I think everybody was pretty stunned at that point that we had that in us to go in and, get up on a team like that. I've always had confidence in the team. I've said it from day one. I still have confidence in our football team. But, seeing that, I think, gave our kids a little bit of confidence in themselves. And I think Lafayette Harrison may have been, kind of in the twilight zone there for a second. They really didn't know what hit them, they responded. There was one point where we were driving down the field on them, and we got them to jump off sides, and we were just moving the ball efficiently, doing a lot of things well, getting a good rhythm, and they took a timeout, and during that timeout I looked over there and their coach looked like he was having a heart attack, or brain aneurysm, and he was just, livid that, that we were able to do what we did, and, kind of lit a fire under his kids, and they made a couple of big plays and then came out at halftime and I think just imposed their will on us. They just had some really, really big, strong kids. And where we're at developmentally right now, we just, our kids, we just don't have very many strong kids. Weight room strong. We were in the weight room yesterday, and I think we've got 6 kids on our entire team who can bench press 225. Because I asked them, I went in there and walk through and just, even after all this that we've put in this season, either kids aren't pushing themselves or they just need a lot more time to get stronger. But, we've got seniors that are in there with 135 pounds on the bar, 155 pounds, and struggling to bench press it 3 times. So we'll get there, but we're just not on that level yet, of Lafayette Harrison and some of those bigger programs. And I think that's really what sets the programs apart. What sets them apart is that they have a weight room culture, a culture of accountability, a culture of high character, a culture of academic excellence. And once we've built that culture here, then we'll be competing with those guys. I firmly believe that.
Coach, you started Alex Snedeker. Now, I noticed on the depth chart that he is starting this week. I'm going to get your thoughts on that as well. But Alec did a pretty good job commanding the offense. He hasn't pretty much played all year long.
Right.
But I thought he did an excellent job of, you talk about that first score, of taking the football down the field and putting it in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's got ice water in his veins. That was a 4th down play as well, where he threw that touchdown to Ron Sanders. And And Alec was a kid that, was just kind of stuck there on the depth chart because we had Brandon Curtis, a senior, that was playing most of the season. Alec got hurt, I think, a week before Brandon started getting banged up, and, was out there a few weeks, which, made us go to Trayshawn Jones. And I still think Trayshawn Jones has a lot of upside as a quarterback, but needs more time to really learn the offense and develop. And, he had some happy feet in there. I mean, the kid's got an amazing arm. He's a phenomenal athlete, can throw the ball down the field, but, you could tell he hadn't been playing quarterback a long time. Yeah. Happy feet in the pocket, not really reading his keys, just kind of predetermining what he was doing with the football, whereas Alex been playing quarterback all season and, has a better command of the offense and what we're trying to do, and, doesn't really get happy feet in there, reads his keys, makes smart decisions with the ball, and has some ability. And one thing I really love about him is, just the way he approached it as a young man, sat back all season long, and didn't say a word, didn't complain anything about the amount of playing time he was getting, even while we're losing games, and so you can really tell he's not a selfish kid, and has a lot of maturity. And, that's one thing that I really respected. He came to me the week he got back and said, "Hey, Coach, Brandon's out. Trayshawn is a great athlete, but I want an opportunity to start at quarterback." And, we were kind of in the mode of running with Trayshawn at that point. And, I decided to give him a shot in the Anderson game. Trayshawn, the game was kind of out of reach for us at a point. And so I said, you know what, let's give the kid his opportunity, play him an entire quarter of football against some live bullets, see how he does. He did very well, so we went ahead and gave him the start last week. And I think he played pretty good. I think he was 9 of 13 for 90 yards, threw a touchdown, threw a couple of interceptions, one that really wasn't his fault, just wide receivers didn't run the right routes, and then one where, he expected a receiver to be in one place and the receiver ran to a different spot. You take those two away and it's a really, really solid football game, 9 of 13 with 90 yards and a touchdown, and pitched the ball really well on the triple option, made good decisions on handing it off when he needed to hand it off. And so we're going to go with him again this week. And so, you'll see Trayshawn Jones back out there at wide receiver, giving us that big play threat again to be able to stretch the field and just go up and get a ball when we need him to. You'll see O'Shea Henderson, and you'll continue to see Julian Hoagland out there. So.
Yeah, two big receivers, and I love those two guys when they're playing well.
Yeah,
they're great targets.
Oh yeah, big targets. And each one of them block well, and they kind of embrace blocking. So, we think that with Snedeker back there and the weapons that we have, we're going to be all right.
All right. Well, tell you what, this week it's a different team than what they faced last week, where the Harrison Raiders love to run the football. This week you have one of the top quarterbacks, at least yardage-wise, touchdown-wise in the country, and a receiver that's also, I think, #1 in yards and receptions in the country as well. We'll talk about the Trojans coming up next, right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports.
For the past 35 years, Van Vliet Insurance has built a reputation of bringing a personal touch. That's because at Van Vliet, it's all about you, your needs, your life, and our town. Along with providing quality coverage to individuals, families, and local businesses, we're proud of our community and the opportunity we have to protect your future within it. Van Vliet Insurance, an Erie Insurance representative. Hometown professionals at work for you.
Newcastle and Richmond opening round of the sectional tournament. It will take place at Leibold Field, and again, kickoff time at 7. Pregame coverage at 6:30 here on Radio Troy Digital Sports. Okay, the numbers are out. You kind of look at them and you kind of think, Newcastle throwing for 3,900 yards, and their one receiver has 90 receptions. It just doesn't make sense. And when I look at it, what do you see in Newcastle this week, and why are they so successful throwing the football?
Well, the quarterback is pretty good. He's a pretty good kid, very elusive in the pocket, got a great arm, keeps his eyes downfield. I think without a doubt the best quarterback that we're going to play, or that we would have played up to this point. So he's, really, really solid quarterback, and that wide receiver's really solid and runs good routes, has really good hands, and they throw it all game. I mean, it's kind of like Connorsville, but in reverse, in the fact that they're just going to come out, or Connorsville and Logansport, all they did was run the ball, didn't really pass it too much. This team passes it, and they don't really run it too much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they look like. Quarterback and wide receiver are exceptional. Other than that, I mean, they look like a pretty, average football team.
Yeah, those guys up front must be doing something right to give him the amount of time he needs to throw the football as much as he does.
Well, he gets rid of it really quick.
Okay.
I will say that. He is, the ball's out of his hands within 3 seconds, and he also does a really good job of keeping plays alive with his legs. Pretty athletic quarterback, steps up in the pocket and bounces outside. We've really been working on the escape drill this week and trying to keep him contained. And then once he escapes the pocket, that quarterback and those wide receivers do a pretty good job on the scramble drill, just finding a place to get open, and then he finds them and wings it to them, and it's a catch. So we definitely have our hands full. But again, I don't think this is a team that's nearly of the same caliber as a Lafayette Jeff or Lafayette Harrison, or some of these other teams that we've played in our conference.
Yeah, I think they're averaging 40 a game, giving up 39. So that tells me you can score on them.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, they've got a pretty good linebacker. They've got a pretty good defensive lineman. And some athletes on the back end. Our offensive philosophy this week is going to be the same that it's been for the past few weeks. When we started implementing the 2-back set, we're going to run the football and try to limit the amount of possessions that they have and keep the ball out of their hands, and score as many points as possible. I'm really challenging our offense this week. We haven't scored 3 touchdowns one time this season. We've gotten 2 touchdowns, and lots of games where we've got 1 touchdown, but let's get 3 touchdowns. Let's get 4 touchdowns. Let's get in the end zone like I know we're capable of doing, and give our defense an opportunity, to create 1 turnover. And if we can turn it into a game like that, then I think we really have a shot. But if our offense isn't able to execute and score points, I don't care what defense it is, they're going to score 20 plus on them. They scored 24 on New Pal. They scored 30 plus on Pendleton. They've scored good amount of points on pretty much every single team that they've played. But again, their defense, they've given up quite a bit of points too. So
yeah, the word you said right there, Coach, now is opportunity for you guys. I mean, this is what it's all about right now.
It's do or die time, and I've been telling our kids that all week. It's win or go home. There is no next game for these seniors, and what type of legacy do they want to leave? And good thing about the playoffs is everybody's 0-0 at this point.
That's right.
We could go and make a run at it and get everything clicking, and if everybody's executing, doing their 1/11th, believing in each other, playing as one team, then I like our chances. If not, then it's going to be a long night for us.
All right, Coach, good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
All right, Abe Tawfeek joining us once again, and we remind you, kickoff time at 7 coming up on Friday. And if you can't be there, we'll have the game beginning at 6:30 right here in Radio Troy Digital Sports.